Hold on tight as we unravel the nail-biting story of the Briley Brothers, two siblings on death row who were desperate to escape their impending fate, only for the unexpected to happen. This thrilling account of their journey will have you on the edge of your seat, pondering the depths of human desperation and the unforeseen twists life can take. Mecklenburg Correctional Center was designed to be impenetrable. However, in 1984, the unimaginable occurred. Mecklenburg encountered its equal, a group of 6 death row inmates with nothing left to lose. The notorious Briley Brothers, known for their heinous killing spree and numerous other horrific crimes, led the gang. The inmates' meticulous planning and forethought culminated in what was considered one of the most audacious and intricate escapes in US history. For 3 weeks, the state of Virginia quaked in fear of the Briley Brothers' relentless brutality. When authorities finally apprehended them, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. As evening approached on May 31st, 1984, something was amiss at Mecklenburg Correctional Center in Virginia. Unbeknownst to the prison guards, a sinister plot was about to unfold, orchestrated by a rowdy group of 6 inmates. Linwood and James Briley, Lem Tuggle, Earl Clanton, Derek Peterson, and Wiley Jones had all received death sentences, but they refused to idly await their fate. All 6 men were murderers with vile reputations, but the most notorious were the Briley brothers, who seemed to dominate death row. In 1979, Linwood and James Briley, their younger brother Anthony, and an associate named Duncan Meekins embarked on a brutal 7-month killing spree in their hometown of Richmond, Virginia. Their murderous rampage claimed 11 lives, as far as we know, and left numerous others traumatized. The brothers and their associates were apprehended shortly after committing the final murders. Duncan Meekins and Anthony Bradley received life sentences due to insufficient evidence proving their direct involvement in the killings. Linwood and James Briley were both sentenced to death, as evidence demonstrated their direct responsibility for the murders. They were sent to death row in Mecklenburg Correctional Center in early 1980. By this point, it was crucial to put their past aside and begin anew, far from Mecklenburg. Linwood Bradley is widely considered the brains behind the 1984 escape plot. At the age of 30, Linwood was charming, intelligent, and ruthless. His brother James, 28, was far more passive and incapable of concocting an intricate scheme. Various accounts depicted James as having a face destined for the electric chair. He lacked Linwood's intellect and was cold-hearted. Thus, it was up to Linwood to strategize, acquire the necessary tools for the escape, and recruit fellow inmates. Identifying individuals eager to escape from prison was not a challenge. After all, these men were condemned to death. Additionally, Linwood's popularity and intimidating reputation undoubtedly aiding in persuading others. With Tuggle, Clanton, Peterson, and Jones on board, liberty was within reach. The men could likely almost savor it, and nothing would stand in their way. There had been some recent disturbances. A few months prior, several inmates had informed prison officials of the Briley's escape plan. Consequently, officials initiated a lockdown from April 1984 until the end of May, when bureaucrats and human rights observers pressured them to terminate the lockdown. Now, the Briley scheme was about to materialize. On the evening of May 31st, Earl Clanton was the first of the 6 to act. As inmates returned to their cell blocks for the night, Clanton discreetly left the line and entered a bathroom near the control room. He then locked himself inside, unnoticed by the guards. Later, around 9 p.m., James Briley requested that the guard in the control room fetch a book for him from a locked day room. The guard left to obtain the book, and that's when James Briley and Clanton struck, overpowering the officer. Once they gained control of the control room, James and Clanton began pressing buttons, unlocking cells, and opening doors. Chaos erupted, but this was just the beginning. Briley had devoted months, if not years, to scrutinizing the prison guards, their routines, actions, procedures, and even personal mannerisms. This provided the inmates with a significant edge. It allowed them to know where and when to move and how to navigate the situation. With all the doors in the unit now locked and a sense of rebellion in the air, the inmates easily subdued the prison guards. The guards were stripped of their clothing, bound, and forced into cells. The 6 inmates donned uniforms and began impersonating guards. This was the next phase of the prisoner's strategy. They needed to act like guards and communicate with officers across the prison. The goal was simple. They aimed to draw all the officers to the building they now dominated. Each time a guard entered the unit, the convicts assaulted them. They were armed. The Brileys and their cohorts had spent months repurposing law equipment into lethal weapons. Whenever a guard arrived at the building, James Briley and Lem Tuggle menaced them with makeshift blades. However, throughout all this brutality, moments of compassion did occur. The elder Briley intended to sexually assault a prison nurse, but was halted by another inmate. Officer Coraline Epps, who had recently given birth, she too feared that she would be raped and killed, but found an unexpected defender, Earl Clanton. One of the 6 inmates involved in planning the escape came to Epps' aid, assuring her quietly, "I won't let anyone come in here and harm you. You have my word." Clanton then stood guard at the door, protecting her. As time went on, the Brileys knew that they were nearing their escape, but to execute the next part of their plan, they required the presence of a specific guard. They spotted the man entering the building. One of the 6 inmates ambushed the officer, holding a blade to his neck. He had to comply if he wished to survive. With the blade still against his neck, the officer contacted other prison officials, informing them that the inmates had constructed a bomb and he needed to remove it from the prison before it exploded. He also requested a prison van be sent near the unit so the bomb can be safely transported. Simultaneously, the Brileys and the other 4 inmates needed to locate an object that could convincingly resemble a bomb. They rummaged through the closet and donned riot gear, ensuring their faces would be hidden from any prison guards they might come across. They then positioned a television on a gurney and concealed it with a blanket, creating a seemingly genuine bomb. The time had come to escape this wretched place, but not before obtaining fire extinguishers as an additional touch of credibility to their deception. Linwood Briley, James Briley, Lem Tuggle, Earl Clanton, Derek Peterson, and Wiley Jones exited the building, bearing the gurney. The van awaited them behind the structure, and no one raised any suspicions about the 6 individuals. They convincingly appeared as prison officials transporting a bomb. The men boarded the van and off they went. The guard responsible for operating the 2 prison gates harbored doubts about the van, but ultimately allowed it to pass. Finally, the 6 murderers were free. They had amassed $800 from raiding the pockets of every prison guard they had encountered. They had cigarettes, clothes, and a determined plan to travel north to Canada, a nation opposed to capital punishment and unlikely to extradite someone facing execution. Eventually, the 6 inmates abandoned the van and separated. By that time, an extensive search was already underway. Authorities left no stone unturned, investigating every area, door, creak, sound, and rumor. Earl Clanton Jr. and Derek Peterson were apprehended first, the day after the escape. Lem Tuggle Jr. and Wiley Leroy Jones nearly reached Canada, but were ultimately captured by law enforcement. The Briley brothers proved more elusive, but were eventually caught. They remained together and might have succeeded, if not for Lem Tuggle. Upon his capture, Tuggle informed officers that the Brileys had been dropped off near Philadelphia. Police knew the brothers had relatives there. A wiretap on the Briley's brother associate in New York revealed a phone call from a Philadelphia garage, leading police to believe that they had located the siblings. The Brileys were grilling chicken in an alley when they were arrested. None of the 6 inmates are alive today. All of them were executed after being recaptured. Both Linwood and James Briley met their end in the electric chair at the Virginia State Penitentiary in Richmond. Linwood in October 1984 and James in 1985. Earl Clanton's execution occurred in April of 1988, followed by Derek Peterson in August of 1991. Wiley Leroy Jones was executed in the electric chair in September of 1992. The final member of the group, Lem Tuggle, selected lethal injection and was executed on December 12, 1996. His last words were, "Merry Christmas."